Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. On the screen you see my updated build for Anton Gurin, who is now level 16. Got contact is imminent to increase the speed of the torps, and look at me now to decrease the sea detectability range. This is the setup I'm using on this game, which takes place on Estuary in Capture the Base mode. I am in the Tier 7 Russian destroyer Tashkent, which has quickly become one of my favorite ships in the game, and the reason that I'm using this updated build will become evident quite soon. Also, one of the inspirations I've changed on Gurin, I'm using, after watching T-Bull's review on the Tier 6 Premium Russian destroyer Leningrad. In that video, T-Bull recommended the Azerlane Atago commander. I have that commander. I kind of forgot I had that commander, and consequently, I haven't put too many promotion orders into her, so I took the couple scraps of promotion orders I had left, bumped her up to level 8 or 9, can't remember, legendary level 1, and that gave me about 1/10 of a kilometer deduction in my torpedo's detectability, which, according to my calculations, reduces the enemy's reaction time by roughly half a second, which doesn't sound like much, but that's quite a bit when you've got torpedoes that you just spotted coming at you. Is it possible that these battleships that I'm shooting the torpedoes at are running a commander that increases their torpedo, or their ability to detect torpedoes? Sure. But I personally don't run those kind of skills on battleships a lot of the time unless I've got a brawler build. And I guarantee you the Colorado does not have one of those. So the torpedoes hit him, and that salvo takes him out. First blood award, first kill of the game for 35,000 damage. Not too shabby. Now we've got two American destroyers out there. Part of the reason I bumped Gurin up to level 16 is because I really kind of love this Russian destroyer line. I know a lot of people don't. It is challenging to play. The ships might not be the most useful ships in the game when it comes to destroyers, but, in my opinion anyway, they are incredibly fun to play. And it looks like, yeah, we get the final say on that Fletcher there. Second kill of the game, and now we're opening fire up on this Benson here. Funny thing about these Russian destroyers, their shell arcs are extremely flat, whereas the USN destroyers, their shells tend to hang around in the air a little bit before they make their way down onto their target. Now, with a level 16 Gurin and the epic booster of battle propensity flag, I am able to extend the range on these guns to 12.2 kilometers, which far outranges, at least to my knowledge, any other destroyer in the game. And that range on these Russian destroyers is kind of their bread and butter because of their flat shell arcs. So I am able to very easily get my shells on target when the dispersion doesn't want to be wonky. And that's a thing that I've noticed. I mean, you can see the dispersion there leaves a little bit to be desired. This is not super pinpoint accuracy like you can get in some other destroyers. But the point of that is that since the Tashkent enjoys such a massive range advantage against other enemy, or against other destroyers, if you find yourself fighting a destroyer, especially the USN destroyers, what you want to do is increase the range between yourself and that destroyer. If you do that, you'll find that your shells are pretty easy to aim, as long as you know how to aim, and you can get them on target much easier than, say, the USN destroyers, because their shells are so floaty. So if you're having an exchange of fire between yourself in the Tashkent and a USN destroyer, and you increase the range, you're going to find that you are landing shots far more often than the USN destroyer is landing shots on you, which, even though I believe, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive the USN destroyers have a better damage per minute output than this Tashkent does. But you increase the range, and suddenly that damage output doesn't matter, because they have such a hard time hitting you, and in comparison you have a relatively easy time hitting them. Now the torpedoes on this thing, obviously they're slow. 55 knots base speed, that is why I'm running the contact imminent skill on Xarkun to increase them by, I think, 4 knots. So now they go at 59 knots. Coupled that with the Atago, Azur Lane Atago inspiration, and I now have what I think are some of the stealthiest torpedoes in the game. So despite the fact that they are relatively slow at 59 knots, by the time the enemy spots them, they have something like 6.5 or 5 seconds reaction time to turn away. And if they're in a battleship, it's going to take their rudder a lot longer than that to even completely turn one way or the other. So these are quite stealthy torpedoes, despite the fact that they are very slow. And I found, after playing a couple games with even a low level Azur Lane Atago as inspiration, that I was hitting a lot more torpedoes. Now that could just be because I was facing more potato battleships. I don't know. And of course that's, just anecdotal based on my own experience. I could be entirely wrong, but I am liking this Azur Lane Atago inspiration for Xarkun on this ship, and I'm probably going to pump some more promotion orders into that commander to get even more use out of the torpedo detectability reduction. If you got slow torpedoes and you can make them stealthy, I'd say that's probably the way to go. Now, I've said I really enjoy these Russian destroyers. Part of the reason why is because you can open water fire if you're facing a single battleship and dodge their shots. Now, obviously, I got a little bit lucky there, dodging that salvo from the Alabama. I did turn out of the way, so it didn't hit me. But obviously, this guy who is in the Alabama is not a bad shot. So I've stopped firing. Gonna wait for him to focus his attention on some of my teammates here. Also, if you noticed earlier, the last remaining enemy destroyer, that Moss, popped up, and he's in somewhere around the top right corner of the map, sort of near our base. But I had an opportunity to go chase him, go maybe hunt him down. I decided not to take it and focus more on these enemy battleships. You can criticize me for that if you want. You can say I'm not doing my job. But, my entire team is essentially between the Moss and my base. So he's not going to get in there at all during this game. And I am close enough to start putting pressure on his team's base. I am currently spotted, though, so I'm not going to fire. Going to wait to drop out of detection and then move up here to try and spot both that Leon, who already is spotted, and the enemy Bismarck, who dropped spot a few moments ago. I want to know the positions of all these guys. Still got one smoke screen left that I can deploy, and I want to move into an area where I can deploy that smoke screen for maximum effect. Looks like the Leon here is reversing maybe into cover. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, I launch a torpedo salvo way in to the left of the indicator just in case he starts moving forward, and then I launch two pretty near the indicator. I'm going to stop here, kind of wait. The Bismarck and the Alabama are both pretty close to that blue circle there on the map that represents my sea detectability range, so at any moment they could spot me, and I want to be ready to deploy smoke at that precise moment. Looks like, by the way, there's a friendly cruiser up in that top right corner of the map hunting for that moss. Pay attention to the minimap as this game continues, because what happens with that moss is so bizarre to me. Anyway, looks like my torpedoes are on target. They finish off the Leon, giving me 12 torpedo hits this game, which is quite a bit, and 139,000 damage with 4 kills. So obviously, I am close to the KRAKEN Unleashed medal. It looks like this game is pretty much in the bag. Unfortunately, the friendly battleships have moved up, and there is now a gap that the enemy Moss could potentially slip through and enter our base here. But he's not actually going to do that at any point, so there's no need to worry about that. Instead, I am able to deploy the smoke screen here and start firing at the Alabama, who does disappear momentarily. And so I'm going to take a couple shots at the Bismarck. The first one is not a well-judged shot, but the second one, much more on target. Bismarck drops spot again, okay, fine. The Alabama is lower health, so he is the one that I am gunning for, so to speak. Forgive the pun. Anyway, shots are going out at that Alabama, who is intermittently dropping spot. That shot starts a fire, which the Alabama promptly extinguishes. His damage control is now reset. I suppose he did it because he is on pretty low health, but it's going to end up being his undoing. This salvo here glances off of him, doesn't light a fire, but I believe this salvo is the one that does it. Yes, and the follow-up salvo just so happens to light a second fire. What a stroke of luck. Now this Alabama has 2 permanent fires burning on him, and I really don't need to worry about him anymore. I exit the smoke screen, which will be running out soon anyway. The Alabama goes down to my fires, awarding me the KRAKEN Unleashed medal, 150,000 damage done, and now I am able to just confidently sail toward the enemy base while firing at this Bismarck and demonstrating to you once again why I so enjoy these Russian destroyers. So I'm 9 kilometers away from that Bismarck. I'm not sure if he aimed that shot at me or at the battleship in front of me. Either way, it missed. He is going to shoot at me as I decide to draw a little bit closer to him, but I'm just able to sit here irritating him, farming damage off of him. I've switched to the AP now because I do have a fire that's burning. He shows no signs of wanting to put that out. He does fire at me, and I am able to easily dodge that salvo. This next one, I guess I didn't really notice. Sometimes it's difficult to keep track of the incoming fire, so it does hit me, but it's okay. In no immediate danger of dying. Now, by the way, behind me, the enemy Moss shows himself, and he is somehow still alive after all of this time. Despite the friendly cruiser's best efforts, he was not able to hunt down that Moss. Bismarck goes down unceremoniously. Moss is the final ship left, and I don't actually think I'm going to get any shots on him. So I'll end this video saying, I don't know if you saw the 200,000 damage Tashkent game that I did. It's on Tactic Angel's channel if you hadn't. Completely different build on that. For the commander, one I would not recommend. This one for Gurren I would highly recommend. And I thought maybe that 200,000 damage was a bit of a fluke, but now I'm starting to think it's not so much of a fluke and that the Tashkent is actually quite a strong destroyer. This is not the only high damage game that I've gotten in it with this build. This just happens to be the best. 19 seconds left on the clock. We are going to finish with 176,000 damage, Kraken Unleashed, High Caliber, Confederate, and First Blood medals. So a pretty great game, if I do say so myself. We end up with about 3,000 base XP, which is excellent, and there you have it. Take a look at the results if you'd like. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you have not done that. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.